Hello. Welcome to episode 48 of an Earful Podcast. Our guest this week is the co-host of Sappenin Podcast and overall music journalist. That is Morgan Richards.
Oh, what a lovely dude he is as well. In the episode, we talk all about prepping and planning a podcast, the hard work that people don't see when doing a podcast, as well as trying to maintain your day-to-day during a pandemic. Because if you haven't noticed, and you should, because you should be listening to Sappenin Podcast, is they never stop. The guy's been doing this every week for God knows how many weeks.
For over 2.5 years.
So what's that? 104 at least. They're smashing it. And you should go to Patreon and find out more about them. If you haven't, I'm sure you have though. Yeah.
But otherwise than that, once you've given this a listen, why don't you check out all of our other 47 episodes, plus our bonus episodes, plus Horror Fest, and all of our clips on YouTube. Make sure to check that out on all popular podcasting platforms. You can also check out the video versions on our YouTube channel. And whilst you're there, why don't you just give us a subscribe so you know when the new episode is out? And there is also
Discord. I heard your dread as you said Horrorfest, by the way.
Horrorfest.
By the way, before you get to the episode, and I know you want to go listen to it right now, but it's worth the wait. We have a Discord. It's linked down below. It's definitely worth it. Join the community, chat about all sorts of shit. Anyway, here's Morgan.
Enjoy.
Morgan from What Is Happening Podcast.
Oh, you've got to say it right.
No,
Whoa.
Cannot happen.
That's not the name of the show.
Should we get it out of the way?
Yeah.
Are you not sick of hearing this by now?
Yeah, but it's fine. Go for it.
Sappenin.
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 Yeah,
How are you guys? How are you?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for inviting me on to have a chat about everything.
Don't be daft. Thanks for spending your Friday night with us.
Oh, a pleasure. I'll probably ended up watching some crap on Netflix anyway, so it's better than that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
No, well, let's make sure it does go well first. You're speaking early there, Morgan. Let's get to the end.
I feel like we're completing the duo since we've had Sean on many episodes ago.
Yeah.
And we finally got you on.
Yeah, this has been a long
podcast.
time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, I remember you guys when you had Sean on. There was some jokes about possibly getting me on and having a laugh about the other side of the podcast and whatnot. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I've been keeping an eye on what you guys have been doing over like the last year or so. So yeah, looking forward to having a chat and having a laugh.
Oh, love it.
Oh, that's what we love to see.
Oh,
Yeah.
Started really nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's downhill from here. Though. This is where I turn into a right dick in a minute.
Let's ruin it, yeah.
Let's fuck it up.
So I'm going to start off by completely ripping off another good podcast, Just a Girl, by asking, what have you been listening to lately?
Ooh, good podcast as well. Shout out to Katie and Natalie. Lately, I've been in all sorts. Like today, the day we're recording this, has been a really good one for new music because there's the new While She Sleeps stuff, Hold an Absence. The Main have just put out a new single, which is they're a band I'm just obsessed with. Nice t-shirt. See, perfect. Didn't even plan this.
No.
There's a band called Soft Cult I've been checking out lately as well. There's a new project from a band that was called Courage My Love. Two sisters. They're really, really good.
Ooh, okay.
And who else have we been listening to? Do you know what? For like the last it's got to be 6 months now, I've been obsessed with the Machine Gun Kelly record and like everything Youngblood and Modson and whatever's in that whole world that John Feldman's producing. It's just, I don't know, something about it that you can just stick on, like when you're doing whatever, and you don't have to really like worry about. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird.
Yeah.
You can have like a vibe to it, but you're not like, you haven't got to put the effort to put into it to put it on. Do you know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, all sorts. I'm sure after this I'm going to be like, oh crap, you didn't mention all this other stuff. But yeah, there's new Low Lives lately, which I've been really, really like.
Yeah.
Who else has been? And like since last summer, I have not stopped listening to Monsters by All Time Low.
Oh, mate.
It's just I
Yes.
can't believe how good that song is. Like I love All
That
Time Low.
album. That
Yeah, like
album.
all their back
Love it.
catalog, I've massive fan of. But like for some reason, that song is just another level. Like there's bands like that now. You like they've been doing it for like almost it's got to be like 15 years or whatever now. And people have picked up again on Di Maria Count Me In because of TikTok and whatnot. So automatically oh, that's going to be the biggest hit forever. But I think this might be bigger. I think this might actually like when gigs happen again, I'd be surprised if that's not like one of the last songs they play live.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
it's very hooky, that song. Like you just get stuck in your head. I'm singing it in my head right now.
Yeah, even the Black Bear verse for me is brilliant. And then when they brought it out again with Demi Lovato doing like the harmonies and everything, I was just blown away. They got me hook, line, and sinker there. Fair play, All Time Low.
Yeah, well done.
Fair play too. You wrote some good songs.
Amazing. So, could you quickly jumping back to the main? And I'm curious then, what's your favorite main album?
Ooh, right. I'll be deadly honest here, and I think I said something of similarity to John when we did a podcast with him. But like their last 3 records for me are ones that really got me into the band. So I wasn't a massive main fan before them. Like there was the odd song, and like I was aware of them. I seen them live a few times, supporting bands and whatnot. But like that connection never happened. That click never happened. Yeah. And then they brought out American Candy, and I think it was a kind of poppier record, but still had that weird like alternative punk edge. I think it's the same time as like 1975 were getting popular, and a lot of bands were kind of getting influenced by them, but not like ripping off their sound or anything. And since American Candy, like I would put them up there as one of my favorite bands. The 3 records they've put out since, just insane. There's so many good songs on it. You Are Okay is probably is my favorite because it's just. For me, the Ming is a band where I can put on and I can have a dance to, but it's like that emotional connection with as well. I feel a bit more connected, for lack of a better term, with it. They were one of my last gigs before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm really glad it was them because it was a really wholesome experience, and I got to see a lot of friends that I hadn't seen in ages, and I only get to see when going to gigs and festivals and stuff. It was just a really nice time. The Mingo band that hold a special place in my heart. It's really hard to explain it, but it's just one that like they hit you in the feels, man. I don't know what they're doing when they're writing those songs, but it's perfect. And they can on that last record as well, like I think the last track is like 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it. Like you get excited for
the 9 minute track.
Yeah, for the 9 minute.
Here we go.
Yeah. And not a lot of bands can pull that off. It was Green Day back in the day, wasn't it? In American Idiot, when they had two 9 minute tracks on an album. That's a ballsy move.
That's ballsy.
But I don't think anyone else, well, apart from like Metallica and all that, like I don't.
Yeah.
You don't get like pop punk alternative bands or anything doing 9.5 minute songs. So yeah.
No.
See, absolutely. I'm on the outside. I never given the Main a go. It's not something I've ignored, but I know Lun is like a huge fan. But Morgan, you've sold me. After this, I'll be.
I think it is those last 3 records though. I think it's definitely a different way they've presented themselves, and they just like American Candy came out, and I was just like obsessed with that record for ages.
I think I'm kind of sort of the same as that. However, it was when Forever Halloween came out was the same time that my old band supported in Preston.
Nice.
When they were on that run. But once it was like in between days that they were supporting Death Havana. I think it was on the old something like that.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, before then, my old band decided to cover Into Your Arms, off the first album. So it was then from Forever Halloween, it kind of went back through the entire catalogue in like the opposite direction. And then it ended up we supported him. So then I've got this soft spot forever Halloween. But when American Candy came out straight after, I was like, holy shit, we're in the fine years of the main now. So
yeah. And there's a really cool deep cut album as well. Over that period, they put out an acoustic record where they did a lot of the old songs and just stripped them back and stuff. And yeah, that's done to perfection as well. So yeah.
Have you heard the solo album John's just released?
Yeah, I've enjoyed that as well. He's a busy man. How does he get time for all this? It always amazed me when, like, I understand a lot of bands, they go off and someone's got a side project or a different band and they sound different, and you're like, okay, fine, yeah, the band's taking a break for 18 months. You want to go and do this other thing you've been working on. But when you have that many songs for that project, you put that out, and then like a couple of months later, you're like, oh yeah, the other band's got more songs as well. It's like, how do you keep up? How do you find time to write all those songs and promote them? And
doesn't own a television. That's
he mustn't. He mustn't.
Yeah, missing out on The Office.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Amazing. So it's worth probably pointing out now that Sappenin's been going over 2 years now, which is incredible. It's an incredible achievement. So well done to you guys for doing that.
Thank you. No, thank you so much.
What actually got you interested into jumping onto the podcast with Sean in the first place? I know that obviously you worked in the radio before then. You was obviously spoken and knew Sean quite well before then. Was there like a certain podcast that you listened to beforehand or something like that, which kind of I wouldn't mind jumping into that world?
That's a good question, because I think it was a weird time, to be honest, because I was, as you said, working in radio here in Wales, and I've been doing that for a while. I was doing a lot of other freelance opportunities. I was writing for the Mirror and doing all sorts, kind of juggling it all at the same time. I was kind of falling out of love with radio a little bit, just because, like, for me, I think I've always been more attracted to the kind of interview side of it, but like telling people stories. And like, I love music, I love new tracks, like finding stuff and getting that hype for when someone drops a new song and announcing a tour and all that. But I was getting kind of fed up of doing like radio shows and having to prepare track lists and keep up to date with everything, and you got to think, oh, is this song good enough, and work out times. It was just a whole thing. And for a while I was kept on doing it, but I was a bit like falling out of love with it. I didn't really know if radio was the best thing for me and stuff. And a couple of friends had joked to me prior about, oh, you should start a podcast and all this. So like, it was something in my mind. And then Sean came up with the idea for it. I'm sure he told you the story of him thinking about all these stories and stuff he had and whatnot, and he spoke to Blind Boy, who does a podcast, and a good friend and whatnot, and gave him the idea that he should do something. And we had a kind of conversation about it, and it just went from there. In like 121 weeks in a row here we are. But it's it just started. It was his kind of initial idea, and then we spent ages, and I mean quite a while, going back and forwards on stuff and saying ideas and how we wanted things to turn out, and graphics and how things would go and what guests we would have and how we'd want to do everything. And then it was a good few months before we'd like recorded anything then, and we were like ready. And then we did, I think, the first 2 episodes, and we were like, right, okay, this is it, let's get it out there. And we had plans and stuff, and then we recorded a bunch of guests before it went out, and it's we haven't looked back since. It's it's been a hell of an experience, and it's weird to think it's been over 2.5 years now. It's taken over my life for that 2.5 years. And I think podcasting is, I'm sure as you guys will know, is like, it's that perfect outlet to do something you love and have a passion for it, but get information and stories out there. Because the thing is, like if I had to compare podcasting and Sappenin to anything else I've ever done, like I said, I loved doing the radio and interviewing and getting bands on and whatnot and talking to them, but I couldn't really get my personality into it. It was a bit more professional based, and like, you know, you'd have 10 minutes, you have 15 minutes with this person, that's it, you can't go over. And also if you do go over, you can't really fit it into the show because, you know, with time restrictions of radio and whatnot. But podcasting, like, you can just talk for ages. If you want to, you know, if you want to go over an hour, you can. If it's not quite an hour, it doesn't matter. You don't have to talk bollocks for 2 minutes to make up the time. You know, do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just it's being the perfect outlet for me, I think. And I'm really glad we got to like do this journey together and everything, because there's a lot of things we complement each other style wise as well. I think that's what makes Sappenin what it is, and like quite unique in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think like one of the aspects I love about podcasting is it's the punk attitude, the DIY. It doesn't matter, and I think that's why I really liked Daniel P. Carter's podcast. Is what got me like, oh, I want to do this. Because I remember listening to one. I just heard a motorcycle like driving around in the background of London, and it's just like, that's sick, because the passion is who he's talking to. He'll do it anywhere. Yeah,
that's the thing. There's no rules, is there? Do you know what I mean? There's no like formula of this is how you should do it. Yeah. Like there's everyone has their own takes of like how you do stuff and whatnot, you know, and that's what makes every podcast different. I think, like, you know, there's some podcasts I listen to and I hate certain things they do, and I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or I do that differently.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. I think that's the same with everyone. But yeah, it's that freedom in it. There's no rules. You can do what you want with it, you know, to an extent.
Yeah.
And you can just have a laugh, because at the end of the day, like, it's what you want to do. You want to have a laugh. Be serious when you got to be serious, but have a laugh.
Yeah, everyone wants to enjoy what they do. Speaking of being serious when you need to be serious, your job is crazy because you have to rein Sean in, and his stories. Dude, how do you do it? Well, I love Sean and his stories, but
yeah. Oh yeah, he's got brilliant stories, and the thing is, over the last like 2 years, right? I've been there when like he's forgotten he's had stories, and then like and he's like, and he remembers stuff, and you're like, how would you forget that? Like, you know, how did you not? You told me something the other day. I was like, how have I only know this now? How have you never brought that up before? Like, you think you would have just been like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened.
How fucking crazy is that?
Yeah, and so no, but that's what I mean by like complimenting each other, because I think, you know, we're the perfect yin and yang in my eyes, because for anyone who's not familiar with the concept of Sappenin, I think in general you'd see Sean as the funny one and me the serious one in context, but like I think there's bits then where he can go off and be serious and I can go off and be funny, or try to be funny at least, you know. I like to get my puns in and stuff, but like there's ways we look at stuff that the other one wouldn't look at, because, you know, he's been in the industry for so long. He's been in bands, he's toured, he's played festivals, he's met everyone under the sun. And then like I've been a journalist, so I still have like some of that element where like I know how things work. I know how some things in the industry actually go, and some people wouldn't realize. But I'm a music fan at heart. Yeah. So there's certain things I want to know because I love this band, where he's seeing it as in, oh, that's interesting that you've done this, because when the Blackout tour they did X, you know, X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I think it's that compliment, and I think like I wouldn't have any other way, because, you know, we don't agree on everything, and like there's certain guests that, like, you know, I've suggested and he suggested, but we just take it with what it is, and that's what I like. I think if we were too like-minded in that sense, and our backgrounds are too similar as well, I don't think it would work as well as Sappenin has. So, but yeah, when he goes off on a rant, just let him do it, because half the time it's got a good point. And I think as well, what's being interesting is there's a lot of our guests who of being in more of a public eye. So like, you know, your Busteds, McFly kind of people who, you know, the tabloids are writing stories about him every other day as well. I think they're quite nervous with just in like press in general, because they think people are just doing it to get a quote off them, to clickbait, to cause trouble. And we had that when Dougie came on. We like,
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you about this.
yeah. But you know, it was refreshing because we recently had Matt Willis, and you could see how happy he was to swear and
Yeah.
like not care and be rock and roll and be punk and tell us about like mad experiences he's had. Where like, you know, if he's going on This Morning or early morning television program, he can't open up about those stuff. And I think they enjoy it. And then when Sean is like, oh well, this happened to me, blah 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 blah, has anything like that happened to you? The people are like, oh well, they get it. Like,
Yeah.
if they've never met us before, and we've had a few bands like that, like, oh okay, they get it, they've been there, and it's those different experiences. Yeah, and that's why I like it, because like, you know, yeah, he's done some mad shit. I've done some things I'd never imagined I would ever get to do. Like, if you told me like when I was 14, 15, 16 that a few years later you'd be doing all this crazy shit, I would be like, would never be. I'd probably slap you in the face and be like, why don't lie to me like that. But yeah, that's what I like about it. We just get to have that mixture. So, but I'm that's one of my strengths as well, is I think getting to like pull it back in and control it, and then kind of remember where we were, let the chaos consume, and then move back on. So
a key example of that is the episode you released today. I listened to it before. Fuck me. You were just like, let's bring it back in. Let's go back to the point.
Yeah, literally. And I think one of the best moments like that was we did an episode of Simwise, episode 69. She's one of like the top earners on OnlyFans. I think she's in like 0.1% like top earners. So because it's episode 69, we thought, oh, let's get someone on, man. So we went to London to record that with her.
Sorry, Morgan.
No, we went to London to record that with her, and it was brilliant because at one point Sean told me that he just looked over to me, and I like kind of just sat like really back in the chair, just like being very aware of everything that was being said, and just like, can we use this? Can we use this? We can't use that. Can we use this? And yeah, at one point, yeah, and that's what I love. Is like, he was loving it, and he looked at me, and I'm just there like,
this is
okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's. I'll take that bit out, but that's fine. Yeah.
just see your brain going into
just like what's is that? Can I cancel us? No. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So.
Just consistent notepad of Mark X minute 30 seconds.
Yeah, some of them would literally just be scribbles.
Scribble.
But even if it did, you can edit it out, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I always have this like whenever I get nervous about talking to a guest, which is pretty much every episode we've done so far, I get like halfway through or where we are now, and I'm like, why am I nervous? I edit this. If I don't like something I say, I can take it out. Like, I'm in control.
That's the beauty though, isn't it? And if you sound bad, you can fix it even better. So that's like the
beauty of it.
Yeah. Well, there's been bits of the conversation where Sean's like, oh, take that out, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, that's staying
nope,
in.
That's staying in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and whatnot. Best good laugh. So
that's so good.
I do want to ask, like, because we've just had it right here, because we're doing this through Zoom, and we should probably talk about, you know, the world. Like, you get like these little pauses and these awkward moments doing the podcasts over Zoom now. How was that adjustment period for yourself?
Well, if I'm being deadly honest, the first few like weeks and months adjusting from pre-pandemic to this COVID world was stressful as fuck. So thank God. So the way we do it is we've always had things lined up in advance. Like, as I said, we already had 5 episodes ready before we even put the first one out, and then, you know, we just collected along the way. yeah, it's the best way to do, especially like this. We put one out every week, and fuck, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work behind the scenes.
I can't imagine how you do keep on top of it.
Oh yeah, I've had some breakdowns, but yeah, just adjusting to it. I mean, we were lucky enough that we had, I think, 3 or 4 guests already recorded before the lockdowns happened. So I think there was the inkling of things were gonna be shut down. I was in Romania on a journalism trip, and then I came back isolated for 2 days, and then met up with him. We literally drove around Merthyr in this car and just recorded the ins and outs for 4 weeks worth of stuff in different car parks. literally just well, let's just get these done, because at the original thing it was oh, you're going to be locked down for 3 weeks and then it'll be fine. And we were right, well, if it's an extra week, we've got it sorted, and then we'll reconvene. And it turns out bollocks. So in that time I was because we always said from day one we never wanted to do anything through Zoom or online over the phone or anything, because it takes that kind of connection away with it. Well, that's what we thought, at least. Yeah,
I completely agree.
Unless Lady Gaga phones us up and is oh, well, I want to chat, then we might make some time for it, so yeah, I was we were terrified of that, and it was well, we're gonna have to adapt. And I spent ages researching what to use, because Zoom was about, but not a lot of people were using it. That's when it started picking up popularity. And I was oh, so I use Skype and whatnot, and found all these settings and things you could do with Zoom, as I'm sure you guys are aware. And then just kind of played with that then. And I think there was a kind of an adjustment for the first few weeks then, just with audio quality and whatnot, because I was very worried in the sense of I didn't want it to sound and quality wise, because obviously with my background on the radio, I'm such an audio nerd that I didn't want anyone who'd listened to the first 70 episodes or whatever, then listen to this one and it sounds so bad or different. They just they've lost it, or this sounds really, scrap this and move on. So yeah, I was worried so much, but thankfully we worked some stuff out. The first one we did over Zoom was with Bert McCracken from The Used, which is one of my emo idols. So gutted we didn't get to do it in the flesh, because I would have loved to have met him, but that was a cool one to do. Well, we're not gonna say no to Bert, so let's do this and see what happens. And it went well, and we got our comedy across, and we got our style of things, and it's been an adjustment since. But I think that was the big thing for me was fuck, how is this going to sound? How is this? Is it going to be completely different? And editing it and putting stuff together, you would think would be easier through Zoom, but it's a lot harder, just because I still wanted to have that authenticity as the first few episodes. So if you've been with us since day one, or you listen to one now and then you go back, it's not going to be oh, this is weird on the ear. But yeah, we've been lucky. I think that the good thing about it though is this last year we've been able to talk to some guests that I don't think we would have in person, just because of their availability and where they live and stuff. So there's people like John Feldman, who's such an iconic producer and he's always busy, and Matt Good from First to Last, he never tours really anymore. Matt Cutshall from those Emos Not Dead videos, probably one of my favorite ones we've ever done. And he's just based in LA. He doesn't travel. That might change now because he's starting up a band, and that single they put out is insane. But yeah, I look back now at the guests we've had in this last year especially, and I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do in a Zoom world. But yeah, that adjustment, that first adjustment period, I not gonna lie, shat my pants a little bit. I was just oh, this is where I make my money now. See how I do with this. But no, I think it's sounding pretty good. So I'm happy with it overall.
Yeah, it was a seamless transition for listeners, but for you, it was a mental breakdown.
Well, that's the thing, because, and I say this to a lot of like our patrons and stuff, or just people who like message us of our episodes, because like I'm always interested to see what other people think of it, not for like a ego reason, but just literally because we spend so much time obsessing over things and like the littlest of details and whatnot, that there's some stuff people are just going to overlook. It's just not going to like be apparent to them. So like there's little things like that. Well, does it sound okay? Does it sound weird? Sean's using a different mic now, because is that all right? Like what? And you don't want to
different rooms and
and like I think that's the thing as well, because you kind of don't want it to be like a weird atmosphere. You want it to kind of be like natural, so it just sounds like they're in a room. You're not thinking, oh, this is done over Zoom or whatever. But like those little details people don't realize. So like there's so many things like I stress over that I don't think people like pick up on. So it's it's nice to see people then share it and be like, oh, awesome episode or whatever, because you're like, okay, fine, must be okay, must be possible. So but I'm proud of how everything's turned out.
It's that outside perspective that makes you go like, you can relax, you're doing things the right way. Before it did transition, were you doing similar to what we did, was like who's in this area? For us it was who's touring through Manchester, let's see if we can wait outside or organize something. And then this happened and we were like, oh, who can you think of? They're probably available.
This is the thing, right? And especially when this all started and everyone across the world was in a lockdown at the same time, when people were like, oh yeah, they're not available. Well, they are, because they're in the fucking houses. We know where they are. They're in the houses.
That's not an excuse anymore.
I know Animal Crossing's just come out on the Switch, but fuck, Mark Hoppus, answer my email. But it's pretty similar to that. I think what we were lucky enough with as well is so we would look at obviously who's ever come to Cardiff and South Wales and that kind of general area, but Sean's a DJ as well, so he goes to nightclubs up and down the country and doing different stuff. I think that's how he recorded with you. He was doing one to Deadbolt, right? And so like there was little things like that as well, where we were looking like, okay, well, who's coming over? If Sean's in Manchester on this date, is there any gigs? Is there anything going on as well? As Raiders, are they playing? Where are they playing? Is there anyone touring with? Is there a festival, whatnot? So it's that kind of thing. But like months in advance, I'd be looking at who's playing where, and then trying to organize things and whatnot. Because pre-pandemic as well, we had a lot of things in the calendar booked for like months in advance when bands were coming over for tours and festivals and stuff, and then all those got cancelled, and we were like, okay. And their management and stuff were like, oh well, it's getting rescheduled for September, so should we just do it then? Yeah, it's fine. And
and you're sat here
how
like,
naive.
Not fine.
How naive was everyone back then? Oh yeah.
September.
We're just doing a Christmas. No, we won't.
Oh yeah, it's just an Easter holidays.
We're back
in 3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks. What are you on about? Yeah, it's 3 weeks. But there's a lot of like organization behind everything and looking at who was where and stuff. But we used to but the good thing with us is we get a lot of offers as well. Like that's something I'm really thankful about, is that it seems that a lot of guests, but like bands management and PRs and booking agents and all that listen to us and know that their kind of bands or whatever enjoy coming on and having a chat with us. So we'll have things in advance, and like it's the same now. Like I've got notebooks and notebooks of dates and who of like the podcast and who's got albums out and who's announcing things and who hasn't announced things and when the announcements are. I've got so much stuff that it's not in the public eye, and just kept the log of everything, because that's how we work it out. And I think that's much easier now, because there was a point during the first bits of lockdown where all those dates were gone, like because of everything. It was right, so you're bouncing from like a few weeks ahead at a time, but now it's a few months. So that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. So
with you saying that, Morgan, is that why you've got that virtual background? Because what I'm picturing in your room is just string from wall
That's
to
what.
wall.
See, yeah,
It's
literally.
like
So
posters up.
I've gone full Michael Scott because I've got like all the conspiracy theories of when
Love
bands
it.
are releasing albums behind me. I don't want to give anything away because I can get told off for that.
Insider information. I get
Yeah,
it.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the thing off Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Joe. where
It's
It's
like-
Oh, but the thing is, you joke. I've got notepads like that where I've literally been like writing down and then going to another one and writing that down and turn around upside down. Yeah.
That's one thing that we've been in awe of Sappenin is like we've burnt out 2 or 3 times on this
2 or 3
podcast,
times.
and
Okay.
we only do it bi-weekly. So in my head, I'm like, how the fuck does Morgan and Sean stay on top like, week to week to week? It's insane.
The better question is, how do they put up with each other week to week? How was
I
Sean
already
not
asked that
killed
question.
Morgan? Yeah, but like, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. It does mean a lot because, like, yeah, I think we easily could have burned out at times as well, and I think we've easily could have just been like, fuck it, we're not putting one out this week because, you know, since doing this, there's a lot of things that have happened in our personal lives for both myself and him and whatnot. We've faced some really like hard times, but we didn't want to let that affect anything. But like, yeah, it's just weird. I think it's just kept me going for a lot of stuff as well, because it's like I have this like I have this goal to do. I know people are. It sounds really egotistical, but like I know people enjoy it. Like I know people wait for an episode every Friday. Do you know what I mean? So the last thing I would want is to take that away from them, or like be cheeky with like, they support us so much to do this. Like we have a really wonderful Patreon community. I won't go on about it because we mentioned about it on every episode. But they help us so much, and they literally are so wholesome. It like makes me cry at times with the amount of things they put in and how nice they are to each other and whatnot. So the last thing I would want is them being so supportive to us and then us taking the piss and not putting an episode out. Like I know they wouldn't mind, and I know they'd be the first ones to be like, don't worry
about it. Yeah.
But it's just I would not want to be like, hi guys, we're not doing one this week. But it's, I don't blame you guys for like burning out, because podcasting is very hard, and I don't think a lot of people get that. But like, I'll flip it on you. Like what? How's burning out like being for you? Because like, what do you think about it has made you guys burn out?
So I know for me, October. I was working at home, so I just bought a house during lockdown. Actually had a space to edit and everything. So I was working from home, and then we were recording podcasts of an evening. So I was still sat in this chair, staring at the same computer. Edit on the weekend, schedule it on Sunday. It'd be out on Monday, and I spent like 7 days staring at a computer. And then October we did a horror fest. So every week,
fuck me.
bonus episodes. They were like 4 hours, and I was like, "Nah, I'm done."
Right.
I was
Okay.
watching those horror ones. So that's what burnt me out, definitely.
Yeah, the 31 movies in October, I think,
Wow.
was a big pinnacle in that. I think for me personally, it was the whole spinning too many plates at the same time, because with myself doing band stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
With the work stuff, we're trying to expand the podcast, doing like different series and video content and stuff like that. I think I've got to the point where my brain was just like, you need to sit down, Matt. You need to just chill out for about 5 minutes and work it out.
Do you guys feel sometimes as well like you've had a really hard week and you've like got all these things done and you're like, oh, it's done, it's out, okay, cool, and then the next thing is like, oh, I got to do it all over again in a minute.
Do you know why? Because we're not as smart as you and plan so far ahead. So we're like, shit, there's one out next week, right? Come on, let's.
But I only do that. It's not out of a smart thing. It's out of knowing that I will literally overthink everything and panic, because I'm that kind of person where it's like, oh yeah, we got something scheduled in, but what if it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
What if they don't turn up? What if what if something happens? During like anything, like, and I don't want to be like sitting there going, oh shit, like, fuck, where I'm going then.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. So it's just out of that. It's just out of wanting to make sure that everything flows as naturally as it can. But I don't blame you for bringing it out. Like, you look at all those parts, like, I've said it before on Sappenin, and like I feel like every time I do, like, I'm like having a go with other podcasts, but I'm not. But it's like I've seen, like, there's so many podcasts who just for some reason haven't put one out for a week or whatever, or they've had a little break, and as long as you're like open about it and being able to talk to your audience or put something up there and be like, hey guys, like, it's a tough time, I think people understand. And like, as I said, there's no harm in doing it out, because it is a really, really hard work. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So
no, I think you're right, but it goes, not to suck podcast dick too much, but it's the nice thing about it where because it's DIY, people know there's something behind it. It's not just like a company name or a publication. So it's like YouTube, as you see them understand, like, take time, it's okay.
Yeah, you say that though. There is a couple of podcasts I know where I know this person hires people and has got an editor and a publicist. I know that you're paying good money to these people. So why can't you just start taking like, come on, you can find a journey. So, but it is what it is. I think a lot of, especially in everything going on, we all need to look after our mental health and stuff first. So I don't blame you guys for.
That's one of the nice things about COVID. If there is something nice, it's we're all a bit more aware of how we're all doing.
Watch where you're going there, Piers.
Why? What?
One of the nice things about COVID.
I do this a lot.
I know what you mean. Like,
you did.
People are more aware of how people are managing in life.
Yeah. Like, there's times where I've felt really down this last year, and like, as you said about trying to juggle everything, because sometimes it's like, oh my god, I gotta do this, and I gotta do a fucking social post, and I gotta do something for my account, and I gotta do this, and sometimes you just feel overwhelmed about whatnot. And there's been a few times I've just like, well, I'm just gonna keep quiet on the social media front, and have that extra couple of hours obsessing about that. I can sit down and chill out, put something on Netflix, and
it's important.
Yeah, it is. I think everyone needs to look after themselves as well. But I like the fact that everyone's having those conversations now, because I don't think 2 years ago we would have. 2 years ago, I don't think a lot of people would have been so open about stuff. So
here's the thing with social media in terms of like promoting stuff and promoting content and trying to keep yourself regular, because obviously it's a thing of you have to be consistent. I find it so hard sometimes where I'm like, I really want to be brutally honest about how I'm doing at the minute.
Yeah.
And then you type something and then you go, I can't put that. I'm not that type of person to be like, oh, woe is me. Where is my small violin so I can moan about my problems? Let's press that backspace. How's everyone doing? Have a good Friday. Okay, there we go.
But here's the thing. Do you think then sometimes you feel false for posting something and just be like, everything is great? Like, because I've done that, and I felt like, I look back on the post and I'm like, oh, that caption's a bit shit, because it's not really what I'm feeling. But then you don't want to be like, hi guys, another Monday. So,
and it's as well with me being in a band and not much happening with the world of music in general in certain aspects, especially if you're like a smaller band, and I won't go on about that stuff, but but like when you've got nothing going on per se, but then you're like, oh, but I need to post, but then you're like, well, what's my identity outside of this? Then you're like, oh, I'll just take a picture of my guitar, and it's like, well, why are you posting a picture of your fucking guitar if you've got nothing to say? Like, there's nothing new that I'm adding to my post. So I'm going on the rant here, but this is
the thing. Like I've tried to say this to some friends, and they're like, what the fuck you on about? Just post a fucking self. And you're like, but like what? Oh yeah, Saturday again. Wait. Every day's a Saturday lockdown, really, isn't it? I mean, what's so no, I feel you. I
say let's lean into it on socials. I'm going to be as negative as possible. Bad news is good.
That's the ultimate, but that's more emo. So technically, it's aesthetic, isn't it? So nice.
On point.
On brand. Let's do it.
You are.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it at the minute. I've got to the point where I'm just like, do you know what? I'm not, unless it's something to do with a new episode being out, or I'm enjoying this song on my Instagram story, something like that. I don't necessarily want to post much because I've not got anything to add that will go, this, you should like this picture because
me.
Nothing. There's nothing wholesome about it. And I'm having this issue at the minute where if you have like, here's a guitar, here's your missus, here's your dog, here's some food and all that, no one would give a fuck about it. But yeah, if it's one consistent theme, people care. And it's like, but that doesn't mean anything.
Then it's not that people care. It's Instagram's algorithm cares.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You know. But like, see, it's interesting you say that, and I know I overthink these things. I spend way too much time on that. Anyone listening to this is thinking this dude's obsessed with Instagram and stuff.
This is for us. Like, it's okay.
No, but like, there's bits where like I don't want to, like, on my accounts, like sometimes I feel not bad, but I feel annoying being like, hey, listen to the podcast. Hey, listen to the podcast. Hey, there's a new podcast. Hey, listen to the podcast. Oh, by the way, did you listen to the podcast? Because there's a new one. Like, all the time. So I feel like if I spread it out and it's like, podcast is out, here's me looking moody for some reason, something else. There's a podcast. It breaks it up. And I don't know. But like, but as you said, really anyone care about like me posting, like, just stuck in moody? Like,
I think everyone overthinks it because you saying that outside perspective here, I don't get that impression at all of like, hey, there's a podcast, hey, there's a podcast. I get oh, sick. Another Sappenin.
I think it's that overthinking though, isn't it? Because I think like you just see what you're doing, like, and then like, you know, Barry from Essex who follows you is not really like keeping up to date with every single thing you post and how you post it. He's just looking, oh, cool, like, and whatever. So yeah, I've had to remind myself sometimes, like, oh, just calm down with it. Like, do what do what you feel. Like, do whatever makes you happy. Like, don't start thinking, right, I need to take 75 photos now for the next 3 months, and then
no one should think about their Instagram like that, should they?
No. Here's a photo shoot.
One thing I did want to ask is, like, all the bands you do speak to, have you ever felt imposter syndrome, like sat there being like, how is this happening? Or
like, it's a weird one with me because I think I've been doing it for so long, but what I always try to portray, and I think, you know, anyone who listens to Sappenin will see that with me, is that, like, you know, if it's a big deal for me that a guest is on, I will say, like, I'll like do a joke and I'll be like, oh my God, like fangirling or whatever, because I don't want to just sit there and be like, oh yeah, you know, it's another band, whatever. Because like the way I've always looked at this since once I started doing journalism and the radio and everything is like, you know, if you take bands, for example, every band is someone's favorite band. And I'd hate to be that dick who does the fucking worst interview ever with them.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't matter what it's for. Like, and, you know, so I've always looked at stuff as like, right, if they were my favorite band, what would I want to know? Why, like, what's so intriguing about them? What's so thing? Like, what's an element of their story that separates them from another band in this scene? Like, what have they done that is going to entice people to be like, oh, that's interesting. Well, I'll listen to their records and stuff. And like when I look back, it's like mental, and I do get excited about certain stuff. And like, there's a lot of like the guests we've had on, and it's just been like, again, if you told 16-year-old me all this was happening, and like majority of the guests follow me on Instagram or I've got their number or like I've kept in touch with me like after, I'd be like going insane. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that whole element of stuff. And like, you know, Taking Back Sunday are my favorite bands, right? And we went to Bristol to record an episode with them, with Adam and John. And you know, there's bits where I'm just like, you know, me and Sean, them two and their tour manager, just sitting on the bus chatting about life. And there's a little bit to me where I'm just like, I was. That's Adam Mazzara there. He's writing all those lyrics you used to scream to yourself in your bedroom. Like, like, you know, there is that bit, and I want to appreciate it, because I think a lot of people, like Sean mentions all the time, like how he used to get jaded in the industry and it was like, oh, whatever. And I think a lot of journalists and stuff can do that because they, you know, it's just a deadline to them, or it's just a whatever, and it's clicks, it's, you know, views, whatever they're looking at. But yeah, like I always try to have that perfect middle, because as I said, I'm a music fan before anything, so I want to put on a good, you know, interview and conversation with them, but I also want to be like, you know, like Matt Willis, like, yeah, Matt Willis. I said to him, like, you know, Busted my first gig in 2003 or whatever it was in Newport Centre. Like, I can remember it. I remember going to that gig. So you want to be like, well, that's a big deal, because I know a lot of people my age, they were his first gigs as well. Like,
yeah,
Busted got people into this kind of music because it was that gateway between wherever it was in the charts and Blink-182. Like, so I understand that. I understand that, like, Dashboard Confessional is a band that I've like cried to a lot. Like, I've grown up with like Charlie Simpson's career. I've grown up with McFly's career and the different albums, and now they've changed. I've changed. Like, so, and then if it's not someone like that for me, I like, well, I know it is for someone listening. So I don't want to be that kind of, oh yeah, okay. What's your favorite color? Cool. You know, you want to be like, well, what, this record or whatever. But there's been some insane moments, like Adam Lazara. After we did the interview, it's just little things. Like we got off the bus and we got a photo and we were posing on the tour bus, and Sean always takes the piss out of me because like now I've got my hair up, right? It's quite long, but for those photos, I'll get it down and sort it out. But it takes like a minute or two to be like. So there's always this awkward bit of me like getting it down and sorting myself out, making sure it's all okay. Yeah, cool. And Sean was taking a piss, like he just always just naturally does it now, and he was doing it. And Adam Lazara was just like, yeah, it is a lot of effort, isn't it? And like we just having a full blown conversation about like long hair and having to put up with it, and I'm just like, yeah. Yeah, you wrote some songs, mine, didn't you? Yeah.
You wrote some songs, mine.
Makes damn sure, man. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
But, yes, you know, Adam from Taking Back Sunday.
Adam from Taking Back Sunday. Thank you for appreciating my long hair. Yeah, that's a weird sentence.
Yeah.
It's like the Wayne's World moment, isn't it? It's like we're not worried.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's been bits as well where, like, you know, we started, and I remember me sitting in a room backstage at a venue, and it was literally me, Sean, Dougie from McFly, and the drummer from Bloodhound Gang. And I was just like,
what?
14-year-old me would be like, how the fuck am I in this room? Like, you okay?
What's the connections here?
Yeah, sweet. Okay. Yeah, different part. Like it's different. I guess for me, it's like different chapters of my life, and there's loads. There's loads of little things like that, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up in a few weeks' time as well. And there's one that I'm gonna be going crazy about that I didn't think we get to do. But yeah, like, you know, I just like to have that moment, because it's like, I remember going to, you know, Merthyr to see Taking Back Sunday when I was 18. I remember, like, even in the point with like Alid and, you know, and Sean in many respects, with like, you know, with Kids in Glass Houses and The Blackout and We Are the Ocean, Canterbury, all these bands that, you know, 16-year-old me literally lived at their gigs at one point.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm in a position now somehow where like I consider like Alid and Liam like acquaintances and friends. Like, I remember when I was 16 and like I was listening to Smart Casual on repeat for like weeks on it. Like,
yeah.
So I want to have that connection. I want to feel that and be like, yo, this record meant that much to me, or this band meant so much to me. I want to do it justice and not just like play it over like, oh yeah, it's just another band. I've probably really ranted weirdly on like with that, but it's just like, yeah, it's just moments. But it's all about moments to me. And again, like, I don't want to look back on it in like 10, 20 years time and be like, oh, I wish I'd, you know, done I wish I appreciated it more. I wish I'd taken that extra time or those extra photos, or like actually told people how much it means and stuff. And I think I've always done that because quick side story, and like shut me off if I'm going too long, but
Nope.
couple of years ago, I was very lucky enough to do so I'm a massive wrestling fan, and I was lucky enough to cover WrestleMania 2 years in a row, once in New Orleans and then New York the year after, and once was for the radio and the year after was for the Mirror. And they were like insane experiences. Like I'd never been to America before. Since being a little kid, I'd always wanted to go out there in general, and I'd always wanted to go to a wrestling show. I'd always like joked like, oh, if I won the lottery, I would like ticket for WrestleMania would be there. And I got to do it twice as press, like as proper, like allocated things. And being invited by the WWE for like a stupid amount of things that week, and doing interviews with all these wrestlers, and being like, it's WrestleMania, man. Why are you talking to me? Like it's WrestleMania is Sunday. It's Friday. Why are you talking to me? You got a match of it. Like, whoa, like
you need to concentrate.
Like, dreaming, and like it's moments like that where I just be like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going out to America to work. And I know people who are a bit like that, and it's like, all right, but that it means a lot more to me, because literally since I was like 8, I remember watching the Undertaker and John Cena and all this and being like, one day that's what I want to do. I want to go there and watch it. And then like you're there and you're getting all the special treatment. And I've got some amazing stories from those 2 years in particular, but one that is really like the best is WrestleMania 35 2019 was in the New Jersey Stadium, but it's like where the New York Jets play.
Right.
So proper NFL stadium, right? Yeah. Amazing thing. Because I was working for the Mirror, I had even more special treatment, and they gave us a proper like hospitality thing watching it, right? So there's like a press box right at the top, and it's posh as hell, and there's like goodie bags for everyone on these tables, and like free food, and there's drinks and all this. And you've got all these journalists, working for all these like major tabloids and publications. And I could feel myself being like, check this out. Like, all that. And a goodie bag, and I'm going on there. I'm like, oh my God, there's a free shirt. Like, I was like, oh, that t-shirt, like there's t-shirt in it, there's a hat, there's a program and all that. And I'm looking at it going, well, I was going to buy that t-shirt for $40. The hat was $20, the program was $10. So this is like $70. So like, oh, I'm just happy. I did an Instagram live on the Sappenin account. For that Mania, just in the press box, just being like, look where I am. And there's people, just all these other journalists just being like, all right, cool. So I literally ate that up for as long as I could. And when just before the show started, they'd given us tickets as well, but like they like wanted you to stay in the press box because kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I could have fancy food and all that, but I was like, it's not going to be the same atmosphere. So I literally just ran down into the thing and had my seat. And that to me is the perfect story and example of getting to live my dream, but being professional as well. Like I did all the cool stuff in the fancy bit, and like, checked in and whatnot, and shook hands with people who work for the company and stuff, which is insane anyway. But then I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to be that wrestling fan now. I'm going to run down and live my dreams as a 10-year-old. Where I could have just sat there and just, been like writing there on my laptop and being like, okay, cool. It's like, saw that, I'll stay up late and send it as soon as I can. Like, I want to enjoy this. And that's the method I want to do with everything like that. So yeah, like Take It Back Sunday, The Used, Lost Profits, like this, like from all of them to Kissing Glass Houses, Mallory Knox and We Are the Ocean, like everyone we've had on, I try to appreciate it because like it's a moment in time for them. And I'm sure, well, the majority of the guests we've had have affected me in my life somehow anyway. So yeah, just try to make the most of it.
I love how you get it, how you just understand that concept. Because I mean, with us, it's been the same. Where even some of the podcasts where it's been like Ryan McCombs from Soil, like 40-year-old me used to watch Scuzz and watch La Viva La Bam and Jackass and stuff like that. and then you're just speaking to him in the Star and Garter in Manchester whilst he does a solo show, and we're just sat there chilling by the bar. It's like, these moments are special. Like, you should appreciate this, because there'll be someone in the area who's gone and watched him because he's a fan of his work and would die for that opportunity, and you're getting it just to sit down with him for 20 minutes, have a nice chat, talk about whatever, but just don't make it a boring conversation. It's great. It's just an awesome time. It's something that you should always appreciate, I think.
That's the thing as well. Like, even if Soil didn't mean that much to you, like I remember I had a period where I was obsessed with Halo and like a few of the records and stuff. I loved the way his vocals were on on songs and stuff. But like, I wasn't obsessed with Soil, but like that, like for me, I would have been like, oh, there was 2 years where I was really like into him. So, you could easily just be like, okay, whatever. But I don't want to be like that. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up at these people's asses. I'm not like, as soon as they come on, we're not being like, yeah, sure, whatever. I loved you when I was 15. Oh my God. Like, I'm not doing that. If it's necessary and I feel like it makes a point about something, I'll mention it, and I'll say I'm fangirling in the intros and stuff before we get into the interviews. But yeah, I don't like, I know I see other people do it. I see other people who do podcasts and interviews and journalists and whatever, and they're like acting smug about stuff, and it's just like, oh yeah, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, but to me, if that looks like the magic's gone for you, so why are you doing it? Are you just doing it because you've that for the sake of it now? Is it an ego thing? Is it like whatever? Like, for me, I'm like, oh sweet, we got Fred Mascherino coming on, like, who was on those like 2 best-selling Taking Back Sunday records. Like, yes, I will ask you all the things I've ever wanted to know about those 2 records. Thank you very much. Like, go take those opportunities. Like, why not? Like, I like,
and just value the time and
exactly. I mean, there's a case in point with that where me and Matty spoke to Luke from Lower Lives. Now, go back to 2011, 2012. We was at the back of Manchester Academy 1 waiting to meet members of Lost Prophets. But like, you are my favorite band. You influenced everything I write. And we bumped into Luke as these little scrawny kids and got this picture of him, which looks fucking horrendous these days. And then we're like, but we're sat here with you now, having a professional conversation about your experience within this vast industry of different things and your different bands and keeping consistent and stuff like that. It was just such a nice full circle moment.
Yeah, but even like, to credit to you guys to get into that space now where you can interview some of your heroes or people like that meant a lot to you. Like, you're not just being like, okay, whatever. Like, you realize how important that is, because you were that 15-year-old kid waiting for Lost Prophets to finish the set to get a photo with the guys. Like, so many people were. So I just don't get people who try to think, like, shove things off as if it doesn't matter. But mentioning Luke, what a lovely chap. One of the nicest humans I've ever met in the world. He's always been great with me. I've done a lot of stuff with him over the years. And he always keeps in touch about stuff as well. He's always like dropping comments on Instagram things and sending messages and whatnot. He's a
wholesome fella.
He's one of my favorite humans, up there with Stu as well.
Well, this is what I was going to mention as well, because I was on about this with Pearson the other day, where I re-listened to the Stu episode. Okay, and I've still got to say that's probably one of my favorite podcast episodes. Period. Not for in terms of the topics, because it was quite somber at some points, but in terms of like just the overall energy of the conversation, how you all bounced off each other, how it was still at points, even though there was some dark points, it was still really lighthearted in others, and you could have a laugh, and it was like just friends meeting up, like you were just having there with a pint. It was just like, it was the perfect balance between both elements, where you still got these important stories and like how he's moved on from that time and stuff like that. But it was still having a laugh about fucking Andrew WK saying, go to the gym, I do weights. I was like, what?
Yeah. that's the thing. Like, yeah, that's probably my favorite episode we've done for obvious reasons. And as you said, it gets really dark, but like, I think that just meant a lot to so many people, and I think Stu really wanted to have that conversation with us, and that's what I love about what me and Sean do is that trust we have for those people. Like there's been a handful of episodes where, you know, not only are they cool about coming on, but like they've given us real trust with stuff that, like, you know, Kerrang and Roxanne and all that could probably give them a big feature about, but they're not doing it maybe with that kind of mindset of being aware of the situation. Is more like, you know, what the clicks are and what the selling of and whatnot. But like, yeah, Stu, I would say like this stuff like Stu, Liam from We Are the Ocean, Sam from Mallory Knox. There's a host of those ones where like it's really raw, but obviously the Stu Richardson one is for other reasons is you know, a bigger deal. And it was the first time we talked about anything like that with what happened to Profits in the end. And I'm just really thankful that he felt like we were the perfect place for him to open up with. Like, obviously he's got a huge history with Sean as well, and I've lucky enough that I've got to do some stuff with him and build up a relationship prior, and a few of the guys in No Devotion. Quick funny story, I actually not a lot of people know this because I don't really get to like talk about it that much, but before No Devotion actually announced they were a thing, right, I gave them all a little scare and really annoyed their management because I did an interview with the radio with Jeff Rickley in like 2014, 2013 or wherever it was, and there was inklings at that time that like the guys might be doing something, but like no one knew what it was. And there was one rumor I'd heard from people in the industry, like in like, well, like the Welsh scene and stuff, that Jeff Rickley was involved, but like it wasn't said, like no one knew he was singing and all that. So he was he was over doing an acoustic thing for like trying to promote Van's Warped Tour over here to see if they could bring it over here properly, because he did like a couple in London and whatnot. And yeah, he came in, he did an acoustic session, we were talking about his career and stuff. So I asked about this, and he like opened, like he talked a lot about like his, like him seeing of what happened and him wanting to help the guys and stuff. And that turned into a massive scoop, and there was so many public, because it's the first time anything had been said after like what happened, and there was so many publications reporting on it and getting the story and stuff. And I'd had like stupid amount of phone calls from big like I was having my haircut and Radio 1 phoned me saying like, can we use the interview? And I was like, what? And you know, and stuff. And it's funny because many years later, that blew up, and it helped me so much in my journalism career and stuff. And I owe Jeff so much for that. But it's weird because like a little bit of time later, when No Devotion were a band, they played their first gig in Cardiff, and no word of a lie, and this is probably one of my weirdest moments ever. Stu came over to me and was like, "Are you Morgan?" And I was like, "Oh shit, he's either going to be like, bro," like, and he was like, and he told me he'd listened with his wife, and they were like scared as hell because they thought I was going to like, because obviously they weren't ready to talk about anything, and I was going to blurt her out and whatnot. And he said like, "I loved my energy and everything." And his wife said to him, "Oh, when you go over to there, if you meet this guy, take a photo." So he asked for a photo of me and No Devotion's first gig and sent it to his wife. And like, I'm just like, what? Like, that don't make sense. Like, and like and I've had a great relationship with all of those guys since, you know, with Lee, Mike, Jamie, Stu and Luke, and obviously Jeff. I owe so much to Jeff Rickley. It's ridiculous. What another amazing, beautiful human. But yeah, so like, that was cool for me as well, because it was full circle. As like, I had I gave that scare, boys, but then, Stu's comfortable enough to sit down with us two and know that, we're friends, and Sean, like, they go back decades, and then he knows I'll do a good job as well. And we're not trying to fish out for a line.
That's it, isn't it?
A clickbait. It's tell us what you're not gonna push you. Like, tell us about it. Tell us your side of it. I don't want to know about Dr. Dickhead. That's to talk about your side of it. Like, how was that for you? Because that's the thing. There's so many people to this day, and I think don't realize the effect they had on them. Like, for those boys and their families and their kids and everything. Because one of my proudest things to ever come from the podcast in that episode, it sounds so small, but it really means a lot because of how big Lost Prophets were for me in my life and that whole Welsh scene. Is we used, so the title of that episode is episode 54, Stuart Richardson, No Devotion / Lost Prophets. And so many people message us saying, thank you so much for saying Lost Prophets on there and taking claim for that name back. And I was so overwhelmed by stuff like that. Like, I went to a few gigs after that all happened, and like nights out and stuff in rock clubs in Cardiff, and even people like who like do stuff in the industry would say to me like, oh my god, like, that was not only was that episode, but like they felt closure for us taking that name back and being like, Lost Prophets. Like, don't, like, I know what happened is absolutely disgusting and it's the worst breakup of a band ever, but just because of that, we can't dismiss everything that band did for us, for everyone involved. Like, if it wasn't for Lost Prophets, I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you. I wouldn't be doing the podcast with Sean. Sean wouldn't be doing anything. The Blackout wouldn't have been a band. So, like, he would have never done music. So how far back does that go? How many people have all that bands inspired? How many bands of Prophets given that break to? How many careers are there? How many booking agents? How many tour managers? How many guitar tech? It all adds up. And like, that's one of my proudest things ever, is we got to do that. We got to have the conversation with him. It wasn't just like start right then what happened. We talked about life. We talked about what he was up to. We joked about them about Thursday, because that's who he was playing with at the time, opened up for Mike M on the reunion show and calling Jared Wade Geraint, because that was what his Welsh name would be. And like, it's just little things like that. And then we get to the elephant in the room, and then we talk about other stuff. And I asked him then if he did get an offer to join 30 Seconds to Mars, and then he was like, well, we can't talk about that, and then let's go move on. But like, no, he did talk about it. Yeah, that's probably my favorite episode, is just that trust. And I think I'm right in saying it's our most, well, no surprise, it's our most ever listened to episode. So
no, absolutely, I can understand that. Like,
yeah, I know why.
Yeah. But no, I think that's the beauty of that episode. That's why I'm happy with saying that's probably one of my favorite podcasts. Like, in general, I might as well give you credit for it now. Where Pearson asked me to do this podcast with him, and I was like, I've never listened to a podcast in my life. So there was two that. So ironically, that was at the same time that episode 1 and 2 came out of Sappenin.
Oh wow, okay.
It was. I remember listening to Armchair Expert, the Dak Shepard podcast. It was like an episode with Zach Braff on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was like, right, I'll walk the dog. I'll listen to that. And then I'm going to listen to number 1, 2, and then 3 came out by the time I'd started listening to Sappenin. Nice. So it was them 3 with Alid from Kids in Glass Houses, which was like, I finished the episode with the Kids in Glass Houses episode, and I was like, I need to do this now. Like, this is, I need to just have a conversation about being creative and just talking in general. I think, because I did writing for a music magazine, but it was just doing reviews, and I was just like, this is not wholesome. I enjoy discussing, but they were like, you can't say I, you have to say we. There's no personality to it. Yeah. It was just all like, this is just a statement. This is not, giving your opinion. This is not having a conversation with someone. I think this is what's so wholesome about having a podcast in general, is that you can have them conversations where it's not a tick sheet to talk about promotion on an album. It's have a conversation, and it's natural, and it's getting people out into a comfort zone where they feel comfortable just to have a normal conversation. Because like you said, the way it comes across sometimes is that people just want something to put as a headline or as a clickbait title or something like that. But where if you come from a genuine perspective of actually just having a decent human interaction, it actually benefits a lot more. And I think that's what you two do so beautifully with it, which was what was so enjoyable when we spoke to Sean all that time ago, where it was just us three in a living room. Credit to Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Where it was, we just sat and we had a conversation about the motorway and Limp Bizkit and everything else, and it was just nice to have that sort of interaction.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for the kind words. But that's what I think is so good about like long form media and podcasting and everything, is that you get to have those conversations, and you get to, it makes it more real. Because like Sean says it a lot, is one thing he really enjoys it is that it kind of gets to show that all these big rock stars, there are people at the end of the day as well. Like, you know, they all get stuck in their car on the fucking motorway. Like we've all done stuff like that. And so like you wouldn't have that in open up a magazine. It's not like, oh, you know, it's the first thing is not like Bert from the U's was stuck in his car for half an hour and he hates it, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, but on a podcast, it's a lot. It's fun. It's funny. You know, and as you said with reviews, like I've done my fair share, and, you know, it gets like tedious after a while, doesn't it? Like, and when you send it off to, I've had it, we've sent stuff off to editors and they've taken stuff out, and I was like, yeah, but it does make sense for the rest of what I've written now, and I'm not really happy with having that my name on stuff. And there's been some other reviews I've just taken the absolute piss and put as many puns and stuff as possible. I was like, oh no, don't. One I always remember is printed in a magazine somewhere, is I did a review with Ozzy Osbourne at Download Festival, and the first line is crazy, but that's how it goes. You know, but like that you know, you're lucky if you get to do something like that.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Where like, yeah, you just get to have a laugh, like, and that's what separates good podcasts from bad podcasts, I think, is like you know, you guys get it, you guys get that you just want to have a chat. It's not like, okay, so you started in blah blah blah, tell us about your first gig, or like, you know, there's times like that is relevant, you know, if a band is like celebrating an anniversary and you're kind of like, oh, it's 10 years, like, you know, it has its place, but it's not just set formula questions, copy and paste every week. It's you know, trying to have a vibe, trying to have a good time,
because the listeners see through that anyway. But have you ever had I know we have, like, spoke to a band and they're just in interview mode because they're so used to it's press the same questions and there's a guard up, but then like half an hour in you see them like realize like, oh, lower your guard because we're just chatting about driving on the motorway, or, you know. We have, and I've had a lot in my career as well. But I think what's so good about Sappenin is, Sean and I combined of so many. I don't want to say connections. I don't want like name drop or not, but like, you know, there's people we know or we've had the experiences with before, and I'd say like the majority of our guests have been like, if he doesn't know him, I know him, or like vice versa or whatnot.
Oh, you cut out then.
I mean,
there's a lot we have. Can you hear me? Cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. There's a lot we haven't met. There is a chunk of people we haven't met before, and I think they've all gone really well, because I think they might be in that interview mode, but like after 10 minutes and you've got me and Sean arguing with each other and calling each other out and laughing at stuff, and I say something wrong, he's like taking the piss, or like he says something, I'm taking the piss, they're kind of like, oh, okay, like it's just a laugh, and they join in, and that's what I love as well. Like I've had a few people like take the piss out of me, and I'm like, what are we doing? I'm just sitting there. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, like Hot Milk are one for that. I love Hannah and Jim from Hot Milk. so much because they are mischievous, and they just call you out on stuff. Like Hannah was having a go at me because I got a underscore in my Instagram name in my social media. And I was like, oh, fucking not following anyone. I'm not following you if you've got an underscore in your name. I was like, what? Yeah, because the one I wanted was taken, so I had to put that at the end. Like, it's so yeah. So that's what's nice about it. Like, you don't get that with anything else.
No, yeah, you don't.
No,
you can't write that in a magazine.
No. Can't, can you?
No.
Morgan Richards has an underscore.
Hanami will not follow you if you've got an underscore. Like, that's the headline.
The tabloid headline.
Hanami underscores are out. Fuck underscores. I'm gonna start a band called Underscore now, just for that. It's probably a band called Underscore. I've said that word so many times.
Here's a question then: do you actually play an instrument? Is it just an avid music fan?
Oh, that's really good. Don't think I've ever talked about this. Yeah, I play guitar and I play bass as well. Play guitar since I was like 14, 13.
Cool.
Yeah, when I was in high school, that was like the dream was me and my mate, we were going to start a band, we were going to be famous musicians and we were going to tour, and just never happened. Could never find a drummer. That's why I took a bass in the end, because we could never find people. And we knew more drummers than anything else. So like, I've got a bass and I can play like the basics of most stuff on there. And it just never happened then. I did some like open mics and acoustic stuff when I was like 14, 15. Can't sing for shit, but I tried it anyway. And whatnot. And again, that was the original dream, because I was obsessed with music, and like I kind of wanted to be that like lead rhythm guitarist on the side of the band who shouts like all the like high, like all the notes you don't really have to sing. Like, do you know what I mean? There's the shouty bits, they're not screaming, they're doing just that little like John Nolan kind of vibe. But that's disrespect for John Nolan, because he can't sing and he's a really good songwriter. Sorry, John, if you're listening, because I know he listens.
Of course,
it's every week, doesn't he? Can never stop. Yeah. So then I realized that wasn't going to happen, and there was I started doing some work experience in radio, and it kind of led on from there, and I kind of fell in love with that side of it, and like telling their stories and being like, oh, well, I want to know this, and so yeah, just went from that. But yeah, I do play. It's just more of a relaxing thing and whatnot. Have a good laugh with it. Don't know, like, if I'll ever, like, I don't even like posting about it, because I feel like it's a bit like, oh. But yeah,
we're going to start Underscore after this podcast. Dude, it's happening.
Let's do it. Podcast Supergroup Underscore. That's the PR.
Already,
that's
the headline. That's the headline.
Speaking of like instruments, there's a freeing moment where you're like, because I was in Lund's old band, and he put me off music after that band, so I started a podcast.
I don't know where you're going with that. I was like,
but there's a freeing moment where it's like, oh, this is for me now. Like, I don't have to be the best player ever. I can chill and learn my guitar however I want now.
Yeah, I think it's just nice sometimes just to like sit down and just get away from it, and just
that's when you choose not to post on Instagram and have a bit of you time.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to like just go learn Machine Gun Kelly songs and murder them without singing. I've been fucking around with me.
I love how you purposely blame me for your disinterest of being in a band.
Yeah. Never again.
He's got to blame someone, and you're there, so
I'm always there.
I dragged you along for the podcast, so you can't be that bad, can you?
Depends.
All right, you ready for this perfect segue into horror films?
We'll go for it.
There's been a bit meta on podcasts, just like Scream. So, speaking of horror movies, Morgan, what's your favorite scary movie?
Right. I'm going to lose so many cool points here, and it's probably made me coming on this irrelevant, but
not at all.
I don't really like horror films.
Okay.
I think I've seen a few. Like I've seen the paranormal activities, and I've seen like Saw and all that. But not gonna lie, I mean, like I overthink, so I get shit scared and worried about every little thing. It's gotten to the point now, right, where sometimes if it's dark and I've got a TV on, I've got enough to make a cup of tea. And you know, some of those like horror film adverts, and it's just like they thought he was gone. When you least expect it, they're back. And like, and like, oh yeah, it freaks me out a bit too much sometimes. And there's like a weird, I can't even watch them. I've got to like turn something over and just make sure all the doors are locked and the curtains and things. So horror films for me, it's not my cup of tea. I've seen a few, but it's not my go-to.
Bit of a tangent. After you've just done that, I think you could start a Fiverr account for voiceover work. That was
impressive.
Very convincing on that.
That was good.
Just scare yourself by
literally scare yourself so much. That would go. The reactions would be good for that. I don't know where we're going with this, but but I can tell you my top 3 films if you want to get if you want to get a feel. So number 1, undisputed love for Back to the Future, like
nice,
amazing, and I think that's got so much of an effect as well on the music I'm into, because like obviously McFly and Busted, and they were the first bands I fell in love with, and they were inspired by that. But just the film itself has got such a good music.
It's great.
Like thing to go with it. It's just timeless. Love it. I could like watch that forever. So that's my favorite film. Number 2 is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because War Adventure. And number 3 is Mean Girls, because it's iconic. You can quote it for everything, and I won't have a single bad word said about it, even though every time I do bring it up on the podcast, Sean wants to kill me. So,
well, you can talk about it on this podcast. I'm okay with that.
I think I've only seen it once.
Wow. Okay.
What? Mean Girls? You've only seen it once?
I've only seen it once. I've never seen Ferris Bueller.
If you not, Ferris Bueller's really good. It's 80s feel good, like film. You wanna like just chill out and watch it one day.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Ferris Bueller either.
Sorry. What, guys? Come on! I thought we were friends, though. What's going on?
It's changing. However, Back to the Future, I'm on board with. But the trilogy is your favorite 1, 2, and 3, or?
Yeah. So people argue number 2 is better, and
I'm on that fence if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, like it is good, but I don't know if I like it more than 1. 3 can get in the bin. 3's all this shit. Like, what were they thinking, Western, right? When they were like, do you know what Back to the Future needs, mine? Cowboys. I think, because I found out recently that they filmed 2 and 3 around the same time, and originally it was supposed to be 1 film. But because number 1 did so well, they put it into 2. So like, I don't like. There's no way they would have gone to the Old West if it was 1 film.
No.
So is that just someone like literally cramming ideas and someone's just shouted Western out go with it, Cowboys, yeah. Like
I had no idea it was going to be all 1 film, and that's my brother's like favorite all-time trilogy. So I'm probably going to get some hate after he listens to this.
Yeah. Apparently 2 and 3 was supposed to be 1 film, but I listened to some lately, and like even like that's how much I'm obsessed with Back to the Future. Like Michael J. Fox was not supposed to be in it. Like they had someone else casted, and they started filming.
What's his name? He was in Pulp Fiction. Bear with, I'm going to find this out.
Whilst he doing that, did you know that in number 3 they nearly accidentally hung Michael J. Fox?
No. To be fair, I haven't watched 3 that many times. 1 or 2.
So the scene where he's meant to be nearly hung, where they drag him out and he's like hanging from there and gets shot down, etc., and all that. They thought he was acting when he was actually struggling to breathe, and they nearly left him up there a bit too long.
Ew. It was Eric Stoltz was supposed to be the original Marty McFly, and on the anniversary box sets that they keep releasing, there was one where they released the footage, the test footage of him as McFly without audio, and now there's like such a huge demand of we want the release with audio. Fun little fact there for you. I think one's got the better storyline, but two's just cool because it's the future.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of things I wish by now we would have had, like the hoverboards and
self-lacing Nikes and
Oh, I'd love them Nikes. I
mean,
really
kind of have
would.
them,
self-drying jacket, like do you know what I mean? Or like
one size, you know.
It's all about them Nikes. All about them Nikes.
Definitely.
So, while we are on films, I'm sure you know Ryan from Karma Radio.
Yeah,
He told me to tell you.
Oh, here we are.
I'm sorry.
What's Chiz says?
Release the Sappenin cut.
Oh.
Now, why do I not understand this, Morgan?
Right. So, this week's episode featured the wonderful Sophie K. Okay.
Yeah.
So, on there we shared some stories between each other, but the worst interview we ever done for the podcast, and her worst ever interview. Basically, we talked about one that didn't go out. We recorded something, it didn't go out because it started and it was so bad. But obviously I have those recordings of how bad it went. And Chiz is part of our Patreon community, patreon.com/Sappenin. Yes, got a plug in. And yeah, so he wants me to now put it out to our patrons to listen to. And I kind of want to, because I feel like it would be a funny train wreck, but at the same time, I'm kind of worried to listen back to that to wonder what it is. So I'm going to try and find those files and see how bad it actually was. Yeah.
I mean, like we were talking about, you can edit it. So
I can.
Not as bad.
Could.
But here's the dynamic, right? What if it's not as bad as we remember, and we've built all this thing up now, we put it out, and someone listens to it and go, "You fucking dramatics, this was fine." And you're like,
yeah,
it was worse. It was worse than our heads, like during. So I'm worried. Or I can just overdub everything and get him to say some really bad shit.
Out of context, make your own answers from his words.
Literally,
exactly.
Just change our questions.
No. There you go. Yeah.
So I remember this story from when Sean told us when we were recording when we did it, the original podcast, and then I listened to today's episode and it came up. I was like, "Holy shit, they said it!"
Yeah, it's been going on 21 weeks now. I might as well say it. But it's funny. I think that's the only one. Yeah, that's the only one we've gone to do, and it didn't turn out well. But we haven't put out. But
I mean, that's a good success rate. That's right.
Good.
You know.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
yeah. But yeah. I don't know. Here's a question: if you had anyone who's being a total dick, or you've tried to do one with and it hasn't gone out, or you've been like, "Fuck it, fuck them."
I always have that mindset of like, fuck them anyway, because I get like, I overthink shit. So
yeah, same.
I'm like, oh, it's going to be a terrible podcast because I'm in it. And then I get in and I'm like, I edit it. What's up? But, we did have one. We have like a pet peeve section where I'm about to ask you what pisses you off the most in the world.
Cool.
And there was I may as well fucking say it. So Sean Clark, I don't know what episode, but represents horror icons, looks after like Jamie Lee Curtis and all these big well-known horror actresses or actors. I asked what pisses you off the most, and he said podcasters, like straight face. And I just didn't know how to take it, and to this day it still plays on my mind, Morgan, where I'm like, did he hate the podcast and he was just trying to get through it, or is he being sarcastic?
To be fair, it was early on from when we started doing podcasts. I don't think we'd really worked out our formula in terms of like interviewing. So I think there were certain bits where he didn't understand British humor. So it was a bit where he was saying when he was younger, he watched Halloween from like a drive-in cinema, but they were watching something else. So he watched it without the sound. And he said that, and obviously he watched it with sound later on down the line. And I made the joke of, so which one do you prefer then? Do you prefer it with or without sound? And it was just like, with sound. Oh.
But it's not your fault. He's got no sense of humor. That's what I don't understand. But like, what?
But that's probably like the worst thing I'd say. There's nothing
Yeah.
else I can think of.
I don't get that though. I don't get the like. Why would you say that in general? Just like it's not.
To me, that I think like I'm a very sarcastic person. I can take that as a joke, but
Yeah.
it's the straight face after it and then like no follow up. I was like, oh shit. Should we
Yeah.
stop? You know.
Yeah. Makes it awkward for the rest of the conversation. Then. That's
That
what we
was
do.
because we laughed it off, didn't we? And we're like,
Haha! Do you hate us, or are you just trying to be funny and that did not come across well? Like what?
That's why we ask it at the end. You know.
Smart.
Like, right.
so we
That's
can
clever.
leave.
First question to you, like podcasts. No. Cheers.
Right,
Thanks.
we're done. Yeah. Cheers.
And that was episode. So we might as well get to it then.
Yeah.
So,
That's
Yeah.
smart.
pet peeves, what pisses you off the most?
Do you know what? When like I knew you were going to do this section, and I was trying to think, and at one point today I was like, "There's nothing pisses me off," and I was like, "Nah, that's a fucking lie. There's things that pisses you off." Like, I don't want to get too political, but obviously, you know, I could go there, but I don't want to that much. But just like on a music point of view, I'd say snobbery. I guess a lot of people would like that, but it's just that it's not even that thing of like, oh, you like this band? Well, you shouldn't. But it's just like, you know, if you want to like Paramore, but you also want to listen to Slayer, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
like I love the headband to Ring in Blood, but I also like to dance around in my kitchen to Hard Times. Like, you know what? Like, I've got both sides of that. I don't get why people are like, oh man, that's not metal. You can't listen to that. And I had that as it like, you know, when I was growing up and stuff as well. Like when I was
Yeah.
like in school, I remember like having conversations like that where someone was talking about like All Time Low. And I'd be like, oh, you know, yeah, Nothing Personal is a great record. And then someone's like, oh, I thought you liked Metallica. And I was like, well, yeah, I do like Metallica, but I also like All Time Low. Like what's so music snobbery, but also like when people say, and I get it with some bands because I'll admit that some bands do lose their touch, and you know what they captured early on in their early records isn't produced in their other ones, right? But when everyone's like, "Oh, the first record is better, the early records are better, the crap now," but it's for everyone, and it's like, well, I get it with some bands. I generally understand if you were like, this band's first records were better and they lost it. When you say it to every single person,
Yeah.
I think that's more on you than the
sure.
band. So
Also, what would you rather have, like the same record put out consistently every other year? You know.
well, here's the other flip to it, right? Because people moan about that. Oh, it's just the same. Sounds the same.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it's like, oh, it's changed. Well, what do you want? Like a half and half? Like unless you're
Let's ask you, Gary. What's the
Yeah.
perfect balance for just you? You know,
yeah, like
as a
yeah,
fan.
yeah. But it's even to the point where like, you know, I'll use A Day to Remember, for example, because you kind of knew what you would get from their records in terms of like structure of a song. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, aggressive verse, catchy chorus, aggressive verse, catchy chorus, really big breakdown, something in the middle that stops and he says something that isn't really nasty, but he says it in a nasty way, and then chorus, fucking weird outro. Like that's probably what's going to happen in A Day to Remember song. So you knew that. But like, if they did something a little bit different, people like, oh well, like, what do you want? I just like, do you want copy and paste, or do you want different? And like, yeah, some people do lose their touch. Some people lose like the love for it. I think some people do get jaded. Some people just think, oh, it's just another record. I think, you know, there's some bands that you think, oh, their first two records are insane because, you know, they've had their whole careers to write them, and then they've had the years of them getting famous to write the next one, and then they haven't got the worries that they had.
Yeah.
And that's what I think annoys me sometimes, is like there's some bands where people like use those kind of things. I'm like, yeah, but he's not really worried about money now, and the girls he was singing about breaking his heart, he's got a really attractive wife who's a model, and you know, he lives in a mansion, so what is his, he's happy. So like, is he not supposed to write music now because he's happy? Like, there was a joke going around before. I don't want to name names, but like, there's a joke going around before because someone got divorced, and everyone was like, "Oh, that means the new record's gonna be fucking awesome because he's had his heart broken." And there's loads of people joking about it. And I was like, you got a point, but like, that's not what we should be. That's not what we should be looking at. And I don't know. I think like, bands grow, people grow. Like, we don't, like, I don't listen. Well, no, I do. I do listen to the same things I listened to when I was 14. But there's other things I appreciate. I wouldn't have listened to Eminem when I was 14 as much as I would now.
Yeah.
But like, it's a break from rock. It's something different. If you told me bands like, I probably when Post Malone, I love Post Malone, but would I have listened? I don't know if I would have listened to him when I was 14.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
probably wouldn't. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have. But I love his music and stuff. So that's the annoying one. Trying to think of.
Well, that was the thing with like when like you used to like share your music with your mates, like on your break or something when you was at high school. But then if you had like, for example, I remember I had Remembering Sunday on my by All Time Low on my iPod, and then I was also going through the heavy Volume 3 Slipknot phase at the same time.
Yeah.
So then I remember I had like mates who were like, "Yeah, Slipknot, yeah," and then they saw that and were like, "What the fuck?"
I was that friend.
And we're like, be cool. I have other music on my iPod.
Yeah, and I get it. And I get like there's a lot of people who love like 80s metal and that's their jam, or like, you love 90s pop punk and that's your jam. So if anyone sounds like that, awesome. If they don't, then you're not really bothered. But like, I don't know, I've just got appreciation for all music. And I think there's so much music out there that if you don't like someone's album, don't listen to it. Like, you don't need to. I guess it's that whole soundtracking for life as well. I think because I think we've had this conversation on Sappenin before, where a lot of people will filter and say their favorite album by a band is actually the first one that they were introduced to by that band.
Yeah.
So like, this is my argument with My Chem, for example, right? I think Sean feels the same, but like, a lot of people will fight to the death and say the Black Parade is the best record ever or the best record they've ever done. And I'll go, well, nah, Free Cheers is my favorite record by My Chem. And some people get really offended, but they were a hit pop peak, like they became that next level band at Black Parade. So there's a lot of people who never would have listened to My Chem before that, who listened to Black Parade, fell in love with them, and then gone back and listened to their stuff. So that Black Parade holds more of a special place in people's hearts than Free Cheers, I would say. But like, if you ask me personally, I would say Free Cheers is the better record. So it's like things like that. But I don't know. It's a weird rant. But yeah,
it's worth having though.
Yeah, I don't.
Same one with Paramore though as well. Like, I got into Paramore when Riot came out, but I would still fight to death and say that Brand New Eyes is the better album.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd say Brand New Eyes as well. But then I think that's when I'd say the same. I'd say I was aware of Paramore and like I knew the singles, and then Brand New Eyes. I remember Brand New Eyes coming out and going to buy that, and then being obsessed with every single track. So I'd probably throw that on first. So like, that's the other side of it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I like Hard Times and all that as well, to be fair.
They're all bops.
They're all bops.
They're all bops.
Hayley's just the queen. She's the absolute queen. Yeah. Another thing that really gets to me is like,
we've just started, This is it.
Sorry. Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I'll go off music as spoilers for stuff, right? And it's a bit weird with this, right? And hear me out. So going back to being a wrestling fan, being a wrestling fan in the UK is really hard because obviously with time difference, things normally start at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and stuff. So unless it's a big one, like a WrestleMania or Royal Rumble or wherever, I won't stay up because you can't all the time. It's ridiculous, right? But the amount of things you'll see it first thing in the morning, or people tweeting about it, and like, being fun, like Yeah, it's different if you're following WWE because you know they're going to tweet about it. But if you
Yeah.
like someone who's also the same thing, you're like, oh, come on. And you get annoyed by stuff like that, right? I get annoyed by stuff like that because it ruins it. And especially with wrestling, I don't want to know who's won before I watch it because it takes that magic out anyway. But people will tell me that's stupid are the same people who kicked off massively when any Games of Thrones spoilers would be posted anywhere. And people going, oh, I haven't watched the episode that was out 2 weeks ago. How dare you reference it in a tweet and whatnot? And you're like, even though no, it's like to be a wrestling fan when everything you've got to avoid. Like literally, I remember waking up as a kid. Like I remember going to school as a kid, and like if it was like a Monday, I'd have to like literally avoid certain people just in case they knew. I'd have to go up to certain people and be like, "Don't tell me I'm watching it later when I get home." And I'd rush home, and I'd be like watching it, and before I did any homework, just in case I got on the wrong thing on the internet, I looked on the wrong thing on my phone and knew what happened. Yeah. So like something like that gets to me. Yeah, and just people who are dicks, condescending and racist. That's a pet peeve. So aye.
Summed up perfectly.
Back to the spoiler stuff. It is pretty intense now with films. Like if it's anything Marvel, like with the whole WandaVision stuff at the minute and all of that, like literally as soon as the episode comes out, you can't touch your phone. You just like
it's like it's like Star Wars.
Away to TV without anyone.
Well, no, it's like Star Wars. Like literally, like I'm love Star Wars to bits, and especially and like the new ones that came out, like the new trilogy and Rogue One and everything like that. I was avoiding everything I possibly could. I was avoiding everything I possibly could to the point where like someone joked about something and you don't know. That's what I mean. Like you don't. It's like, well, give it a bit. Like why? I don't know why people tweet. Oh, you wouldn't do it with anything else though, would you? Like you wouldn't be like, no. Oh my god, I can't believe that serial killer go and killed everyone in the 54th minute of the film. Oh, I can't. Oh, cheers, Joanne, for tweeting that out. That's great. I need to watch that film though. Also, pet peeve is when people leave football matches or gigs, before the end.
Yeah.
I get it if you've got it like you get home early or like I get stuff like that. But when it's like I once had someone complain that someone didn't play a song. And then they left, and then they played the song, and then they kicked off. And they didn't play it earlier, and we were like, "Well, but you did leave." Again, you wouldn't do it with a film, would you? You wouldn't be like, "It's football mainly with that." That's what I never understand. It's like 10 minutes to go, and people leave, and you're like, "You wouldn't sit through a whole film." Like, and then the last 10 minutes, you're gonna find out who the killer is, and you're like, "I think I'm gonna head off."
Check out.
I don't know.
Worst one I've ever seen to do with people not really paying attention at gigs was I went watching John Mayer a couple of years back, and I've been like wanting to go watch him for years. And there was a guy 2 rows in front of me who spent the entire night on Snapchat. Like,
that's annoying as well.
Not even filming, messaging.
Oh, that's even worse.
Wow.
Like, he wasn't even going, I'm enjoying this concert. He's playing slow dancing in the burning room. Nothing. It was just, what you doing? Or stuff like that. I was looking at him, and then like everyone else who was with me was like looking at this guy. Just like, what are you doing?
But it's distracting though, isn't it? Like when someone's like openly messaging someone in front of you.
It's in the corner of your eye.
And you're just like, what are you doing? Like they know people can see that. They know. Because you either like quickly backlist like quick text or if you're just like cool. I hate the filming the whole thing as well. Like I get it if like something interesting happened and you want to take a photo, because I've done the same thing. Like you want to get a nice aesthetic photo of the gig, or there's a bit from a song and you're like, oh, I want to get that to send to someone or whatnot. When this is literally press record the whole way through, it's just a bit like, well, I don't know. Do you think that'll happen when gigs go back? Do you think people? Well, I guess so, because people want to post more, won't they?
Oh,
but
God, they will, won't they?
Like, oh my God, first gig back.
Yeah, but like,
just
fucking will they enjoy being? Yeah, will they enjoy being there? Like, will they enjoy like being in a room with other people.
It's gonna be weird, man. Like I keep thinking back to, like, speaking of people filming shows, is where we went to interview Static X at the Ritz. There was a girl, like, almost her head was like through the railing, so she could get like her arms through, and just she was there for the entire gig. And like, credit to you for, you know, that dedication, but take a step back. When you do interview Fred Durst,
oh yeah,
will you be wearing a red hat?
No, I can't. Can you?
I don't think
you can't.
No.
And will you say yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably try and say fuck 46 times.
Oh,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
Just for the sake of it, something like that I would do. I would try and put it as much as possible. But that's the dream one, isn't it? That's like
that's the one that has to happen.
Yeah, that's Sean's dream one as well. Freddie D. Yeah, it'd be good.
D.
But the worst thing is, and it's funny, and I think Sean loves it in the sense of, like, you know, he's in the situation where this happens. But Fred Durst will see his DMs and stuff on Instagram and like and react to photos he's put in his story.
Yeah.
Just not like Sean's literally messaged him going, "Oh, come on the podcast then," and he's
seen
gone.
Tweets and
He's liked it, and you're like, "That's what?"
Surely that means you're on board.
Is he waiting for the Zoom link? I don't know. We should do that one day, to be honest. We should just DM him a Zoom link and see what he does. Like, if he comes on.
Maybe that's all you've had to do all this time.
I wonder. Ooh, that's a good.
You kick yourself if you didn't attempt it, at least.
That's a good game, though. Just DMing everyone ever, sending them a Zoom link. But send them all the same link. So if they come in at the same time, you've got some mad crossover.
It's like a Russian roulette.
Incredible.
Episode.
I might have to do that one day just to see if it happens. It
like
won't. But like, it's a wasted day.
But it'd be incredible.
It'd be funny. It would be funny.
What else are we doing in lockdown? You know.
Yeah.
Now's the time to try it.
DMing Fred Durst, obviously,
Yeah.
trying to tell him that, you know, it's not Russian roulette when you're placing your bet. But
love it. Is that where we leave this off?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it just one of those days where you don't want to wake up? Or
Well, by this point, it's the end of the day, so I've already been awake for a while.
Lund, did you just?
I did. I just carried it on, but this is probably we're gonna go end this. Yeah.
Now it's one of those days.
Yeah, it's now one of those days.
Yeah. Listen, Morgan, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry if I've ranted on about stupid stuff.
I'm sorry I ended it, but it had to end.
Yeah, well, we can't. Well, these listeners, I guess, have got a life they need to get to, and, like, you know, do normal civilian things, not like us podcasters who, you know, are above the higher standards. I don't know why I said all this, because now it's like, oh, fucking hell, that sounds really dark. But no,
we had such a positive podcast.
Yeah,
and now
a good end as well. I was like,
oh,
fuck them up. No, yeah, no, I appreciate you wanting me on. Literally, I love the fact that anyone's interested in anything I do and want to talk about mad experiences I've been able to have. So thanks for taking the time, and keep up all the work with it. But give yourselves a break as well. Don't burn out. Try.
We're working
Drink plenty of water and positive mindset.
Yeah. I think the dream next is to get both you and Sean in the same room.
Complete the trilogy.
Yeah, it is.
That'd be good.
At this point.
Well, I'm up for it. If we manage to be allowed out of the houses at some point, and I don't know, Sean's DJing or playing Manchester or something, yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm sure there'll be
get in a room, and then you can see which one of us breaks first.
Potentially, we'll get it sponsored by Monster as well. So then it's like a complete
but then you've got
experience.
But then you've got Sean on Monster, which is a different person completely, and he will just be shaking. So,
I think that's
Yeah.
what Sean was like when we bumped into him, because I remember we got him a few cans of Monster.
Yeah, it's like
And
a
as we got
bringing of
there,
offering.
He
We
already
bring you
had
juice.
cans of Monster, and he was like, "Oh, cheers, boys!"
just double drinking them. Stone Cold.
Like, yeah, Stone Cold.
Stone Cold, like yeah.
All over the face. Love it.
Incredible. Morgan
Oh, wow.
Richards, thank you very much for coming on, sir.
Thank you very much.
That was a fantastic episode of 48 with co-host of Sappenin Podcast, music journalist, WWE nut, and beautiful human Morgan Richards.
That was a wholesome chat. I feel better. I feel improved since that conversation. And if you enjoyed that too, make sure you check out Sappenin on the links below. Make sure to go and check out the Patreon for Sappenin as well, where you can find out tons of more information and go on
www.patreon.com/Sappenin Podcast.
Thank you.
Linked below.
Thank you, Pearson. Thank you. But anyway, if you enjoyed that chat, make sure to check us out too. You can follow us on all of our socials. You can check out all of our previous episodes on all popular podcasting platforms. And you can also watch the video versions on our YouTube channel if you're already not doing that now, seeing our faces on your screen. But there you go. But otherwise than that, what else do we want to talk about, Mr. Pearson?
Oh, it'd be a Discord.
Oh.
Yeah, we got Discord, if you didn't know, in the intro, because I never spoke about it.
Not all.
We've got a Discord. Go join our Discord community.
Discord.
Chat about horror and tell us some random facts. Yeah, I'm assuming you've got too far and can't reach your phone to pause this episode, but thanks for getting this far.
Unless you got YouTube Premium.
What, people would listen this far with YouTube Premium?
Well, maybe. But if you could keep the podcast on.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
But
I
then
don't pay
go
for
and do... Neither do I, but...
But if you do, and
Some
you're
people
driving
do.
in your car right now, you can't stop it. No one's driving in the car. We're in a lockdown.
No.
Right, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for getting this far. What an episode, though. If you enjoyed it, share it about. Fucking show us some love.
Let people know.
You just heard how hard it is to maintain a podcast.
A podcast?
A
What's
podcast.
What's a podcast?
A podcast.
A podcast?
Yeah, because that's pog. Because you just heard Morgan talk about he understands why we burn out. So fucking reward us with a share. That'd make my day.
Do that. Make Pearson smile.
Yeah, man. Otherwise, I'm leaving this podcast. Thanks, guys.